show you some stuff down the way. Perfect, recording in progress. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen down the line, but I would rather not be about stuff that you see. This should be about workflows and stuff that you want to know. As I was telling Dev earlier, and you could hear, I'm an interactive producer, meaning I'm the person who I'm taking an idea for the story and takes it all the way up to publishing. I don't write that much now. I used to write a lot, but I honestly do not. I'm not happy to write. I'm happy to produce because I think it's way more rewarding to take an idea and push it all the way to production and more. So today we're gonna chronicle this trip, how you get an idea and turn it into an interactive. What we usually do is we always start with a pitch. Whenever I have a story that I want to produce, I'm always asking for a synopsis. I mean, I've been talking to producer and telling them, give me one paragraph. What is the story about? Because if it's complicated and you cannot condense it down to one paragraph, it's definitely not gonna be bigger. It's gonna be confusing and chaotic. And being a producer means that you are the person who are putting things in order. So what I like to do in the beginning is get a synopsis and then jot down some key points into the interactive. Every story for me has like from 5 to 10 key points, maybe broken down as chapters. This is to make the user understand it better, because a journalist always wants to write. I'm hoping that you know that, and I'm hoping that you're excited about this. But a producer is the one that, as I told you, put order into chaos. So creating chapters, creating bullet points. I'm usually creating a list of major characters in the story and secondary characters in the story, because below every character, I'm gonna write a couple of lines like, how is this person affected? How is it? Do we have like quotes from this person? Is his point of view represented in the story? You know, as you grow to create a bigger story, you need to be sure that everyone is represented, every voice is heard, and you can only do this by planning correctly. On the side of this document that I make in the beginning, or like my notes, I'm jotting down which is my target audience. Who are the people that I expect to read this story? Who are the people that the story concerns? And in my mind, I'm making a line on how I can take this story from this draft to delivering it to my target audience. So what's the story is my first chapter of involvement in an interactive production. The second part is how do I tell the story? So these next two parts, how do you tell the story and how the user can move through the story, is actually two things that are checking my boxes in being sure that the UI and the UX, are the user interface and the user experience, are proper for every story. Let's go for the user experience first. So I'm saying, how do we tell the story? First of all, why is this a visual story? Is this a story that could be probably better done in video? Because if you have to show something without commenting, you can definitely produce a video. Is this a story that you could write? Because from SEO to keeping like easily like sharing it, it may be a story that you could rather write than making it interactive. How does your narrative flow? Do you want it to flow linearly, or you want to go from the beginning to end, or give the user the freedom to do whatever they want? Because if you want to do this, then yes, this is an interactive. Could it be published on another platform, maybe not on the web, or maybe it could be a social story? I don't know. But when you check it, when you do a checklist and you find out that this is how I want to tell your story, there you have your user experience. So then you break down the pitch from a good idea to a potential interactive idea. And then you refine, you fine tune the interactive experience before even started designing it. how will the user move through the story? Are you going to use chapters? Are you going to use buttons to hide stuff behind, like hide them from plain view and then have people tap on them to reveal? Are you going to have like interactives, like I want to type my address and see how the story relates to me? Because this is like an important interactive angle on this. So this, the how would the user move through the story question will define your UI, your user interface. After you answer these potential questions, the beginning questions, then you see that the interactive, that the project starts forming in your mind. This is going to be, for example, a long form, or this is going to be a graphic, or this is going to be an interactive infographic. So then you know this is like 20% of the road. You figured out how you're going to tell the story and how the user will figure out the story. The last thing before you start actually producing is what I told you a little bit earlier, but then you have to get into specifics. How can I customize the story for my audience? Do I have to take data sets and filter them down? So let's say if I want to do an interactive for the EU, do I have every country of the EU being able to filter data and see for how their country is doing or whatever? Then you take some minor design decisions, like, do I use tabs? Do I use buttons? Do I use autoplay? Do I use scrolling to move through the story? But this is taking your audience into consideration, telling them how they will move through the story, how they will actually enjoy the story. And then what I like to do is use a tool that I'm sure many of you may have heard. So I'm gonna share my screen now. It's not like that important. It's not that. I hope you can see my screen now. I'm using a program called Notion, and this is just one board that I've built called for YouTube content. Actually, I have copied it because I want to do my version of it. I haven't gotten into that yet. So what Notion does, Notion is a software which combines Google documents with Google Sheets, creating database that can contain other documents or other databases in. So as you see, let's take this project. This project is called 5 Productivities or whatever. So I'm going to call it my interactive story. So what I like to do is start by putting this in the non-started column. So on the list that you see on the left of my screen, this has all my potential ideas. So this is how I jot down ideas or maybe pitches that I have from producers outside of my work. Someone says, I want to do a story about this. So I'm just, if I think that the story is correct, so I'm just adding it on my Notion. Then I'm maybe assigning people. So I'm going to assign myself here because this is my personal, I don't have other people. And I'm going to put it on a date. And then you can start adding stuff like, maybe I want to have the platform. Which platform does it goes out? So the option may be, my option can be like, it goes out on YouTube, and it goes out on Instagram, and it goes out on the web. So actually, I need to edit this property and make it multi-select. So then I'm going to select the web and YouTube and Instagram and everything. So this is pretty much an editorial organizational document that could help me and the other members of my team that I will invite to jump on this document. It's going to make it easier for all of us to work. So for example, I will check scripting. Then I will tag someone who writes the text, just write it. And when I have it ready and it's approved, maybe I'm going to put it to ready to approved or something like that. So to me, this is an amazing organization, or like this is a producer's best friend. This is, if you want to work as producers, you need to use organizational tools like this. I know Airtable is another popular, or Trello, or there are a couple of other softwares that are really, really popular for organization stuff, but I like this because what I like the most is that I can actually create millions and millions of stuff like that, of databases within databases and everything, and I can actually link other stuff there. So this actually I can put it on Notion, on Slack or Discord or other channels, and it's very easy to communicate instead of a closed platform like Google's tools. So Notion is what I like to I use to track progress, to jot down all the phases of the production. And then what I like to do on this pre-production phase is list everything, every resource that I'm going to use. I'm listing all of my visuals, like pictures, video, graphics, stock material. I'm writing down everything that I need from text, paragraph, like length or whatever. What is wire material that we're going to use, and what material do we own or do we need to create? So I'm just making a list of resources, and I just want to see them on maybe a checklist view. I want to see that I have everything in front of me before I even start working. That we haven't even started working yet, but this is all the pre-production phase. And now comes the most important pre-production phase, which is called storyboard. I have never worked without a storyboard in, I don't know, the last 15 years. I am a storyboarder by habit. For everything that I do, I'm using a program called Milanote, and I'm gonna drop a link, but I'm gonna share my screen for a second so that you can see Milanote. Give me a sec. Sorry, I need to find Zoom. Okay. So Milanote, which is milanote.com, is the program that I use to storyboard everything. Here, I used Milanote to create, like 2 years ago, I created a video studio for a Greek publisher. And this is every stage and every phase of the work that we moved through to create this studio. Milanote is an amazing tool that allows you to create new stuff. Oops, sorry. I like you to create new boards, for example. And in every board, I can show you like a template of a website storyboard. So what I like to do is I start putting the story into a design format in front of me so that I can see how the story lays out. And let's see, like a video storyboard. This is a video storyboard of a story on video, going from like a scene of 8 shots. And these are storyboards, or like mood boards, or actually mood board is something that I do whenever I'm doing projects. Like I'm adding inspiration. I'm adding what I want to do with the logo or the typefaces or everything. I'm just adding stuff which are probably random, or stuff that I do not want to forget, or stuff that I want to put down, meaning, for example, I want like yellow color to be important in the story, or maybe I'm just adding a swatch, or I'm adding typography that I want to look like whatever, like black on yellow, or even actual workflow decision, because Milanote has this amazing option of like to do. So for example, if this was my workflow for explainers video, and I'm just, as I'm going through my ideas, I'm checking, this is a visual story about a current event. I'm explaining something. So I'm just using this little interactive features of Milanote, but not only to storyboard, but to actually flesh out everything, put the story in front of me. Let's say that this was a whiteboard. People draw on a whiteboard. I cannot literally draw a single line on a whiteboard, but I could definitely storyboard everything. This is the most important part of my job, and this is the part that, even from designing or whatever, this for me as a producer takes most of my time. Putting down everything, like actually putting the project in front of me on a very crude format. A project that can help me see everything from the beginning, the middle, and the end. Then as a producer, the next step is you have to spec for everything. Like I'm specking for, sorry, I see that my voice is breaking. Can you hear me correctly? Is it okay?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I just got a message that my voice was breaking. Sorry about that. So then I'm going through the visuals, getting licenses for everything, actually doing, which is a boring part of being a producer, conversions, like taking huge images and putting them down to like narrowing them down. If I have to do, like, for example, a web story that is going to use like 1080p images, I'm going to take in all the 4K, 6K footage and bringing it down. This is actually creating specs for when you get to design an interactive story. And the same thing I'm doing for data. When I have data sets, I need, at this point, before I start designing or everything, I need to come up with a display option for graphics. I usually use a platform called Flourish. I'm just going to put the link down. Give me just a sec to put the link so that you can check it. I think it's flourish.com. No, it's
Flourish Studio.
It's, yeah, Flourish Studio. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to drop it to the chat so that you can see it. I usually use this, or at Al Jazeera, we used Data Wrapper. I'm going to send it to you too as well. So what I do is I take all the data that's related to the story and I format it using one of these two tools. Then I take the HTML that these tools produce, and I know that I can put it on my interactive platform. The next part is actual design work. Actually, the next part is two things happening at the same time: design and writing. I'm not doing the writing, someone else does it. I'm doing usually the designing, which is the part where I have selected the platform, and we're going to talk about platforms in a minute. Then I'm starting with the branding, with the look and feel. Usually this is a product of one Milanote board that I have created, as I showed you earlier. Like, I have done a mood board. I know the colors, I know the typography, I know how I want it to look and feel. And then I'm getting into actual designing the story while someone else writes text, and then we put everything together. Obviously, the producer's work is not done there. There are some things that are happening after that, but I want to tell you now about 3 tools that I'm using, and I'm going to show a little bit of stuff that are created with these tools. So depending on the story, the first potential tool that I may use when usually things are simple is shorthand. And I'm gonna share my screen again so that you can see the website. Shorthand had come to us in 2013 when I was fresh with Al Jazeera with AJ Labs and asked us to be like beta testers. We worked a lot with Shorthand, and they were a very crude tool, but are now a really refined tool for storytelling. The best thing is that it presents to you a full screen and immersive experience and allows you, as you can see from the video that they have, to use templates that you can add parts of the story, like any parts of the story can be like a reveal, text on screen. Like this is stuff that the web is right now full of, all these like nice experiences, like full screen experiences. Shorthand helps you build them easily. This is a basic tool, and I'm not using it anymore because when I have huge data, I'm not like very happy on how the Shorthand displays it. I'm using Shorthand for when the story is linear, that you have to scroll from top to bottom, and you want to be, I want to control the narrative like this, but not have the user go back and forth and enjoy it the way they want. This is more of enjoy it like it looks like. I'm creating the experience for you as an audience without you having a lot to do with the experience. It's like taking your hands and taking a step back and just enjoying, like scrolling linearly to see the story. Do you see you still see my screen? This is a story that I produced like 2 years ago, I think. It was 20 years of 9/11. And this is sorry, that's in Greek, that this is for the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and it needed to tell a story of how 9/11 happened in a linear way. So this is like a great way to use Shorthand. Is a like really good experience to narrate everything. I mean, it says like people are diving so that they do not burn alive. So this is actually what's happening as it happened, and this is a linear recollection of the story, but with big screen visuals and actually some videos and images and other stuff. This is a non-interactive story, but this is a visual story, and Shorthand is really, really good for that. Like narrating a beginning to the end without, complex back and forth. And actually, this story went on for a while. I mean, it was a visual story, so, and in the bottom of that, it had another text focus story and then an explainer video. So it was a story that you don't get to intervene a lot, but it's like a linear story. So Shorthand is really, really good for this. Now I'm going to show you the tool that I'm actually using. I like this tool a lot, and the only thing that I don't like about this tool, which is called Vev, and it's let me just drop a link, which is vev.design, so that you can check it. Sorry, is my Zoom? Oh, yeah, it's here. Okay. I like this tool, but I do not like the name scrollytelling that they are associating it with. The best thing about this tool is that you can work as a designer to put everything in place where you want. It's not that much of a templated tool, but you can use actual design. I'm used to design in Illustrator, in Sketch, in Figma, in tools like, let's say, freeform design. I'm putting a block and then I'm putting an image or whatever I want. So, I mean, you can see here, you can move stuff. You can, it works like InDesign or Illustrator with layers and everything. This is a free form design tool, but it's focused on storytelling, meaning apart from all these design tools that it has, it also has their own templates. Like, let me show you the design editor. So sorry. Yeah, what they do is obviously, I mean, you can see here that this is a responsive design tool. So this is like very helpful when you're putting out stories like this. But they have these features like components that are pre-made that you can drag and drop in there and can make the story easier. I would say like components like animation tools or custom fonts, obviously, like transitions, like ready-made guides. This is a tool that it works on a web interface and it helps you put everything together in the place that you want. If you want a gallery, you can drag and drop a gallery component and you can just populate it and it's done. So this gives me the freedom to know that I do not want to take like a huge amount of my time designing. I just want to design the look and feel, and then I want to drag and drop the components and create my design. I gave you the link so that you can just go around and see some case studies that people have done with this. I'm usually a person talking to them, talking to these people, finding ideas for news for them, because they people usually use this software to create websites that are not news related. I'm usually the guy who tells them, come on, I've been doing interactive stories. How can I build an interactive with your tool? This is how my relationship with web started. And they have started to develop stuff like scrolly telling image, parallax images. Now they have incorporated Flourish. So they're adding data stuff on that, and Lottie animations, which is After Effects animations for the web. So this is an easy way to incorporate everything as an HTML inset on an experience that I want to customly design. And the third tool is, like, let's say shorthand is beginner, Web is intermediate, Webflow is advanced. Webflow.com is a tool. Let me just drop it to you as well here. Webflow is a tool that pretty much is a blank canvas, has a code window and a design window. So you can definitely design everything like on a layered, like bring in, set up layers, set up properties, however do you want them to be, like a visual way to build the website. But then you have a very robust code editor. So if you have a programmer, or if you know, like if you know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can add stuff on top of that, and you can create really, really sophisticated websites. They have some amazing examples, and they also support templates. So I would argue that this is good if you are working for an organization that say expects you to create long form templates. I would use Webflow and make it as a template so that everyone can come in and design in this with any freedom. Like you can have an experienced programmer come in and design with HTML, or you can have a visual designer design only the part with you know, the visual tools. These three tools are tailored to pretty much like 90% of all editorial products that you may need to design. You can pick one, you can create a workflow that suits you, and then you can go on adding elements like tailoring your story. For example, one stuff that we did back in, I think, 2015 with shorthand is we send out producers to shoot a specific kind of story, which is like panorama images, like wider images rather than tall, because we wanted to create something on shorthand that was panoramic in view, because we had the story like this. So these tools help you to visualize everything very easily, but allow you sorry, um, sorry, but allow you to, even if you have something like more advanced, like either get in a programmer or like start tweaking the code yourself. Because one thing with no code tools that I've seen throughout my entire career is that if you have an automated tool producing something for the web, the number one problem is that the quality of code is really, really not good enough compared to the handwritten code. But then again, not everyone can write code by hand, for sure. So I would say these are middle of the road solutions for beginners, intermediate and advanced producers that will definitely get the story where you want it to go. These three tools and some other stuff, like I'm using Sketch, which is a design tool that I can take, export it as a PNG, and then take it to Webflow and start designing on top of this. Or Figma, which is a visual design tool that Adobe bought a few weeks back for something like 20 billion. So I guess it has a future, and we'll see how this is going to be. These are design first tools, not producer first tools. These are design first tools that help you maybe serve something to a producer, like give them a layout or like a sketch, like a very, very advanced design that they can code. But these tools that I showed you, Shorthand, Web, and Webflow, can even make a producer, a standalone producer, create a project from a beginning to end. I want to talk a little bit about tools in a second on AI, but I want to say this first. When you put everything together from a producer standpoint of an interactive, there are 3 steps, before launch, and 2 after the launch that you need to have your mind on. The first thing, when you finish the interactive, you need to test with 2 groups of people. The one is with audience. I'm usually, when I'm designing something, when I'm designing an interactive story, I'm sending it to a couple of friends, journalists and non-journalists, to tell me what they think of it without telling them anything else. Just go around, browse, do whatever you want with the story. Let me know how does it feel. The same thing I'm doing with developers. I have like a couple of developers and programmers friends, and I'm sending them something so that they can take a look under the hood. Does it work okay? At Al Jazeera, I used to have a team of developers working with us, and actually the leader of the team was a programmer. So we would check the code that it's actually working. Every clicks, things break. I can tell you that. So developers can help you where things break. Audiences like journalists and everyday people can help you with, if there's a problem with your story. If there's a problem with your story, people who are actually sending them for them to see and enjoy will definitely tell you before it reaches the audience. Another step is measure. As soon as you launch something, you need to measure it. For example, on an interactive that flows from top to bottom, how far did people reach? How many people started and how many completed the story? Because this is something that you want to know. Did you bore people? Did people find it very exciting and went from the beginning to end, or, which is like ideal, actually it will help you find what is the most common exit point, because from a narrative and a design perspective, you want to know both of these things. How did people take the decision to stop like reading the story, stop enjoying the story? And then if you have included buttons or videos that autoplay or scrolling videos that start just with moving, how did people interact with it? Did they press buttons? Did they came back to see something like again, or did they miss it in the first time and then came back to see it? And also, did they comment in a story? Did they share the story? Always, I'm including on interactives ways to comment and ways to share, because I'm not expecting people to find it on social media. Maybe they're coming from social media, but I don't expect them to go there and actually comment and share on other platforms. I really want to share opinions, and I want to share my story on where I published it. And the last part, which sadly most interactive for the producers that I know forget or do not care. I used to be one of them, but not anymore. I'm always writing a brief on how the story was consumed. A brief can be like a paragraph or 10 paragraphs. I'm not doing 10 paragraphs ever, but I'm always doing a couple of paragraphs as notes of seeing the analytics, seeing everything like laid in front of me. What is the synopsis of this? What did this leave me with? This is really helpful when you start your next project. Going through all of this workflow from the beginning to the end definitely helps you a lot to note it as soon as the project is done, and you like a day after you get your first analytics, because the project needs to be fresh on your mind when you take some notes. Believe me, when you start from the beginning, you start to plan your next project, begin it by reading how your latest story was consumed. This is how the life of an interactive producer, this is not something that is, this is pretty much what a journalist does day in, day out. But I feel like a producer has to create this specific workflow so that you don't miss stuff. You make a habit out of treating your content, your words, your visuals, your stories a specific way, and making it about the audience. It's always about the audience. It's not about you. It's not for your portfolio. I have a portfolio that I really, really don't care about. I have put it on Behance and I haven't updated for years, but not because I don't want to brag or whatever, but you do stories for the audience. You do not do the stories for like showing it around or like getting awards. And you need to work, everything on your work needs to be towards that. I want to go to the last part of this discussion, talking about a few tools that are definitely available to us right now, and it's all about AI tools. I'm a person who I'm really excited when I'm in a newsroom. I really, really like being in a newsroom and testing tools, testing stuff that like I want to see new platforms. I want to see new tools to do everything. I think that this is the time, first, to remember that we're journalists, and second, to draw a line to whatever we can use from AI tools. I mean, from the AI pool of tools that started to grow a lot to tell editorial stories. Because I mean, you all know DALL-E. You know, I'm writing a text and then it brings out an image. Would you put it on an editorial project? I wouldn't. But I could use several of these tools. First of all, we had built an interactive at some point with Al Jazeera. I think it's down now. I don't think it made it on the new server that they're using, that had a chatbot. Chatbots right now, powered by AI, are really, really good. This is what we're calling conversational AI. And bringing it on an editorial project, it could be good, because I see the best use of this AI conversational tool is that you can get feedback from people by asking predefined questions, and then maybe setting up your interactive to show that questions, or maybe like getting quality control over your interactive. Chatbots are a very safe AI tool to use wherever, because it's customizable and it's not doing stuff like on their own. I found another AI tool that is actually fun and gave me an idea on how to use it. It's called, I think it's, I have a link for you. Okay, I'm just gonna give you the link. I found like a few days ago. It's called Plot Generator. Actually, as a producer who is called to form a story that someone else wants to write or something, AI can give you a few ideas or a few templates on how this story can be narrated. And this is pretty cool because you're not using it to write your story. You're using it to come up with ideas. There is another one. Let me see if I have in my bookmarks here, which is, I think this is one of the most prominent story generator that is called Jasper. So Jasper is called story generator, and the link that I sent you, it has a few more. Definitely, this is not about creating text and creating stuff out of thin air that are not editorial. But I see a really good use of using AI tools to find angles, to find potential spins for your story, to get inspiration. And I like to draw the line there. I'm not sure that we should be using any other tools apart from that. And obviously, there is another set of tools that I've been using, which is, I'm going to link one that it's on my bookmarks, that is like a production feature. It's enlarging images. It's not, I don't like to use tools that change stuff, but for example, IMG Larger takes bad quality images and makes them better. I know Photoshop can do it. I usually do it in Photoshop because I know how to do it in Photoshop. But this is if you have like a batch of images, you can use AI enhanced tools as long as you're sure that people's faces are not changed or colors are not changed or any other detail is changed. So I guess that since we've been finding, like, I've been seeing 2 or 3 tools like this pop every day. Eventually, I guess there's going to be an AI toolbox that is going to help. And I'm sure that in this workflow that I went through from beginning to end, you're going to be finding some help in there. And also these platforms that I share, they're definitely going to use some AI tools at some point. But let's be careful. I mean, let's use editorial only tools because we're journalists and we definitely need to preserve our integrity when we're producing stories. This is actually, I had noted a quote that I found in AI Storytelling, a website that I was researching earlier about using AI for angles, for stories, like giving you ideas on how you could potentially spin it somehow. And I found a quote that I really like. It says, "Computers don't cry during sad stories, but they can tell us when we will." As storytellers, I think that eventually this is something that may come up in the future a lot as we're crafting stories. But for now, I think like for the last 45 minutes, what I drove through you is life of a producer. And I hope you get excited or you have a question for me or something like that. Because producing stuff, I promise you, is, to me at least, is way more rewarding experience than writing. And I think it makes you a better journalist to know every part of the story, even the technical part. It doesn't mean that everyone is a designer, but knowing about design and maybe having a designer that you can communicate, or a video shooter that you can communicate in their language, how to shoot, a photographer that you can tell him, I want this or that, like I want a wide shot or a tight crop or something. This is stuff that every journalist needs to know. And these are like stuff that you are equipped with. Journalism, I grew up in an, okay, I'm 52 years old. I grew up in an era where journalists had to write and only know how to write. But I can tell you we're way past that. And I know that you know it, being at this age and studying at a university that it's of this level. But every time I have to tell you on top of this, no one in 2022 needs just to be a journalist that writes words. The most you understand the word, the better you will be in your journalism, for sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You,
It's been wonderful. Guys,
I hope it was interesting. I don't know.
It was. Yeah.
Stuff are interesting to me. I don't know if these are
They are pretty interesting. So I also teach some of the stuff you already mentioned, and you mentioned more actually. So I have a module in the next semester which is entirely focused on AI.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So this has been very helpful. Guys, over to you. Do you have any questions? You can actually drop the chat, or you can turn on the camera, then ask the questions. Please go ahead. Who's going first? Hello.
Actually, there's since you're talking about this, I didn't mention it earlier, but I was looking at two more stuff that are not 100% editorial, but I would like to check them. One is the Versu is a website that actually creates characters and stories about people, which is very interesting. It's built for game design, but for characters in game design. But I really, really like the idea of how you could use it to create maybe a fictional or non-fictional character, or maybe take inspiration about this. And the Charisma AI is something that I'm really, really interested to see if it's ever gonna find its way. It's actually interactive humans that you could use maybe as narrators, like as characters that are not real, but they could sell like a story as like narrating. And obviously, like you know, that the most tools are tools for creating speech from text and stuff like that. Definitely, if you know that this is an AI that's narrating, it's 100% like legit to use. I see.
Can I interrupt you? There is a question from Bridget. I think you already answered. You know, how this is the chat. Bridget, would you like to go and ask in person?
Well, I see that, Bridget. I see 100% that for journalism, I do not accept this. But for story, I mean, I would never use an image made on AI for journalistic purposes. I don't know if I could create images just to show. I mean, I wouldn't create an image of, let's say 9/11. We took 9/11. I wouldn't take an image of like before 9/11 and ask an AI to produce me how would like 9/11 be if it was a nuclear strike. I don't know if my story was about this, but I would never use the image. If it's an editorial, I would never use an AI image. I would use tools, as I said, only for like groundwork, resizing images or creating or preparing assets or something, and maybe getting inspiration, like how would I create narratives, or how would this story flow? Right now, I don't see any other tool, especially image-based, that I would use for journalism. I see Pritika's questions. Yeah, I don't know right now. I don't know if they write better. I know that they can maybe tell stories better. They can definitely, I mean, AI right now can definitely help you do stuff easier. But if your work is like, if I'm feeding AI to write a story about what happens when inflation is whatever, like I'm crap at business journalism. And then I ask AI to write an essay on this. I would have to go and check everything. So my time, actually, AI wouldn't be saving time. I'm not seeing a takeover. I have been seeing, though, AI used already by Associated Press, by, I think, Agence France Press, to write captions. This is, I mean, they have proprietary tools, so I really don't know what they're using. I'm not sure that they're using tools of the trade. For writing captions from stories, like taking metadata out of the caption, out of the raw image and writing captions, I guess that this is okay. But this is not doing it better than a human would do, if you're asking me this. I don't know. But again, I can't say what's going to happen in like 5 years, because machine learning is now rushing so fast. We did a story on machine learning with machine learning tools on Al Jazeera. It was right when I left, so I was only involved in part of the story. And obviously, because it was done by programmers, I understood only the part of designing and presentation. I really couldn't see what was under the hood. And this was scary good, because I saw the results that we got. And I know that with the abundance of information that is out there right now, it's extremely easy to train machine learning bots to do stuff. It's very easy. So imagine that what we've done so far, and we've seen these AI tools do things that we call amazing or good. Imagine what will happen in 2 or 3 years. Sorry, I see Arnav's question. Usually without the images, visuals, the stories do not have any meaning. Yes. Okay. I'm a visual journalist, and visuals are, what sells a story for me. Also, I'm a person who likes to see stuff rather than read stuff. I'm 100% sure that a career in visual journalism is very exciting, because you get to be trained. If you're a professional who, as a visual journalist, you get to flesh out all the images and visual to make the story better. It's way more exciting than writing a story. I know that it's amazing writing a story and describing stuff to people, but actually showing it to them and designing stuff that they can see, putting data in a better form that they can see it, is an amazing work. I was like today, I was tweeting about this website. I don't know if you've seen it, called Semaphore. I'm going to drop a link for you. This website actually does the opposite that I like to do. I'm a visual person, and they actually focus on creating a story that makes sense, like separating facts from opinions and everything else. And this is a really good idea. It's not visual journalism, but it's a good idea. I know that stories and visuals go hand with hand. Like, to me, I like visual stories. I think they explain the stories better, as you say. I don't know. Let me see, Chandini. Division of work should be there to make the stories more compelling. Like, design the visual platform by some and the story by others. At AJ Labs, we had programmers, we had designers, we had journalists, we had even a person who only did maps. So definitely, you need to get people with different skills together to produce more compelling and more complex stories. But these tools that I showed you help you create stories. If you're a good journalist with a sense of visuals, you can create a story, like a visual story, with no help. If you have help, it's good, obviously. But a good producer knows how to distribute work, how to get people's talents to work best for the team and for the story, if it makes sense. Most of this tool make web stories. What about smartphone application? Would be interactive storage for mobile apps. Yeah, a shorthand story. Yeah. I have been doing a lot of, I used to work with Google and another couple of platforms to produce web stories. Google has a web story format, which is like an Instagram story, and I'm sure you know this, and there are like 10 or 20 different platforms like this now, which actually creates visual story that are mobile first. I am subscribing to, I think it's called, let me find it. I think it's called Frame. Let me see. They send me, oh, no, I don't have it on my phone. It's a publication called Frame. I will find it and send, yeah, Frame. Let me copy it from here and try to drop it on my Mac. Okay. Frame Media creates web stories that they are sent directly to your phone. These are Google Web Stories, like with this platform that has been used for a long time. I actually have created one. Let me find it. I have it on my Behance profile. I created like an elaborate one for Al Jazeera. I just need to grab the link. Okay. Okay, I think it's this one. We did it as a mobile first story back then. I'm actually gonna share my Behance entry because it has, I don't know how this story works on mobile because I've built like different versions and I don't know what's happening with the new Al Jazeera server. But this link has every design for this story that I did for the mobile version. And yeah, I mean, stories on your smartphone, like interactive stories on your smartphone, make 100% sense. Al Jazeera used to have, back in 2019 or 20, when I last checked on the analytics, 80% of people coming with mobile. So we had the mobile first and then a mobile only workflow. So everything I described today works as mobile only for AJ Labs. So it definitely is smartphone oriented. AI and storytelling of human emotions, how we can draw parallel stories that can still touch the emotions of the people. I wouldn't, like for emotions, I wouldn't go to AI. Doing like storytelling, emotional storytelling is an art form that, especially during, I've seen amazing and very emotional stories that definitely no AI could produce. And actually real life can produce moments of emotion like no one else. I'm not sure that AI can help you craft stories like more emotional stories like this. A human touch, I guess it's all we need for now. I don't know if in 2 or 3 years time we'll be able to distinct a story that someone passionately wrote from a story that AI wrote that has passion. But I'm definitely sure we're not there yet. Human wins in that part right now. Yeah, there is no platform which produces mobile interactive stories than web stories. Yeah, I'm not sure that there is something that produces specifically interactive for mobile. The stuff that I've seen so far is, obviously you can do it with Webflow, the tool that I showed you, which you could design a mobile-only interface and then add all the custom codes on top. What do we used to do? I can't remember the name of the tool that we use. It was based on React. React is a framework that you can add, that you can code components for designers to use. And we used to experiment with a tool that actually could do stuff like that for mobile, but I'm not sure that you can find that something else rather than Google web format for smartphones right now. And to be really honest, interactive stories for the desktop and for the web, I mean, are usually enjoyed best when you're sitting in front of your computer. Sadly, our attention spans and Instagram and everything and TikTok have made us on smartphone to scroll all the time. So I'm not sure that very complicated stories can be narrated on smartphone, I mean, as a successful story. But definitely you can take Webflow and you can create a story just on mobile, maybe web. You can take just the smartphone interactive that you love that is only smartphone. And I'm sure it's definitely going to work. Samyak says, in light of the fact that we're heading in the direction of metaverse, where everything will be driven by AI, can you shed some light on how much this affect journalism? Due to the fact that images will be paid for primarily, yeah. If we knew who will be owning the metaverse, would be more specific from this. I mean, I made an explainer on metaverse when it came out, and still it couldn't explain half of the stuff that today, like it's probably like 8 months to a year after that, things have 100% changed. I believe two things about the metaverse. First, we are very, very far from the actual form of the metaverse. Whatever we're seeing right now is not going to be the form that will be eventually. And second, it relates to journalism 100%, is that I'm very excited to see how explanatory journalism will work on metaverse, because explanatory and experiential journalism is something that metaverse is really good at making us feel how it is to be there. If you want to know how it feels to be in Ukraine while there is war, I guess metaverse will be able to give you like a pretty good experience of how it is to be there, how it is to hear a bullet coming like from the right side of your head and like 2 meters above. This is pretty easy to be with something like the metaverse. But I guess that this is a question that we can answer in 2, 3, 4 years from now. Editorial specific applications of the metaverse, I can think of some, but this will not be accurate right now because things are about to change. I see something about explanatory journalism. I know it will flourish on the metaverse. Maybe data journalism, maybe stuff like that, because it's pretty easy to use visual terms to explain stuff to people. But then again, if it's a reality powered by AI, it wouldn't be accurate. So I don't know. We have a long road till we talk about this for now, I'm sure. I don't know if you have any other questions, guys. I really enjoy answering
Any more
you.
questions?
I really love your questions. They're really good. I hope I can answer.
No, it's all right. Any more questions? Yeah, it's. I think that's it for the day, Konstantinos and Krishna. You have a question? No.
Sorry. Okay.
No, I was just asking whether anybody had a question. So thank you so much for taking time, Konstantinos, as always. And we will keep coming back to you, and it would be great if you could email me the tools you mentioned. Pretty much, quite a lot of them, and they've done it. But since you mentioned a lot more, so
yeah, I'm gonna send you an email. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's always. I mean, I love it. I'm always here for you guys. Yeah, thank you so much. Anything you want, just drop me on Twitter like a question or anything. Sure. It's let me just you can find me on Twitter, you can email, you can like DM me anytime you want. I'm happy to discuss anything. And that's it. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a nice
Bye-bye. You too.